everybody. This is Mike, and no, the title of the video is not lie. This is not about anime. So, what you're about to see is an excerpt from the latest Bonsai Popcast. It's very important. I hope that you will listen to it, and I hope that if you enjoy it, then maybe you'll check out other episodes of the Bonsai Popcast. Check it out on YouTube. There will be links. But basically, my family is going through a pretty difficult time and experience right now. You've likely seen a little bit about it if you follow us on Twitter or Instagram or have checked the YouTube community page at all. But this is a longer, in-depth kind of look at what's going on and how something like this could happen to somebody like my aunt. It is an intellectual conversation between Tyler and myself. We will have a new video out for you very soon. Enjoy the show. Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to have a semi-serious discussion about burnout, right? So generally, if this is your first Bonsai Popcast,
Sorry.
like generally we're kind of pell-mell about things. But I think, every once in a while it's good to have like a topic or like a theme, to talk about. And I think that burnout is something that it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. And
well, especially in our space.
Yeah, especially in the YouTube sphere, and doesn't really get it's like everybody knows that burnout is bad, but I don't think people really understand how bad it can be until you see it. Right. So I guess, where do we start? You know what I mean?
I feel like, Mike and I have both experienced burnout to varying degrees. And I mean, to be fair, like all of us, I think on YouTube who do it full time have.
Yeah. Unless you have like an amazing audience where you can just release whenever you get 3 million fucking views and then you're good for like 3 months. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, yeah, there are people who are like, I think like H Bomber guy is a good example of somebody who he has a really strong Patreon, like insanely strong. He only has to he releases like a couple times a year, so he puts a lot of work into those videos, but he takes his time with it. Same thing with like Philosophy Tube. They don't really feel like they're burning out, and their content really doesn't really shows it too. It's really top notch stuff. Because they can take the time, because they don't have to worry about making stuff for monetary gain. You know what I mean?
Same thing with Hardcore History. Like Dan Carlin, he releases like once a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, it's a 5-hour podcast, but like once a year, dude.
Yeah,
he's like living off that shit.
Yeah,
and for good
Internet
reason
Historian too is also like that. Like his main channel. I mean, he releases about once a month on his secondary channel, but they're mainly podcasts. I mean, they're heavily edited podcasts. We watched some when I was over there.
You're talking about Internet Historian, not Gaming Historian, but yeah, they're kind of in the same boat, honestly.
Yeah. So there is a way to do YouTube that doesn't really hit you with burnout, and it's really cool, but very few people have the audience to do that.
Yeah.
But however,
it's also
yeah.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, however, the majority of the rest of us have felt burnout a lot. Mike and I certainly have. Grant from Tree School, probably more than either of us, even.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. It sucks, and it's hard, and oftentimes, even if you're feeling it, you don't think that you can stop.
Right. And it's not just something that like plagues the YouTube space either. No. It's just something that you hear a lot about because our job is to talk, so obviously when that kind of stuff happens, like you talk about it kind of. I mean, some people do, some people don't. And Luthi asks if YouTube algorithm is still demanding quantity over quality. Yeah. I mean, like if you want to kill it on YouTube,
it's better than it used to be.
Yeah,
but
if you want to kill it on YouTube, you got to release like every fucking day. You're still like, no matter how good your views are for your big releases, you're gonna make more views if you're releasing every day. That's just the way that goes.
100%. There are channels that release every day, get 10,000 views a video, but they make bank because it just adds up so fast.
Yeah.
You know?
And like those videos, for the most part, like I'm not gonna like call out anybody or anything like that, but those videos for the most part are trash content. Like that's the whole point of it. It's a TikTok type of thing where it's like you make a video every day with about 2 minutes of actual substance and the rest of it is fluff. Like you've seen them before. If people repeat themselves, they have like extended intros, extended outros. You know, like you have to search. It's usually something you'll run into if you're looking for like instructions on a video game or help with a tool, you know, or something like that. Like anything, like they are so full of fluff in order for these people to be able to get stuff out every day.
It's the equivalent to those fucking like cooking recipe websites where like I just want the fucking website and you have to read through like the fucking I just want the recipe and you have to read through the fucking author's like childhood
Life
trauma.
story.
Yeah, to get to like how do I make jalapeno poppers, you know? Like
Yep, and the recipe is always down at the bottom, so you have to scroll through the whole thing, so all the ads show up on the fucking thing. It's fucking stupid. It is stupid. Like, and it's just bad for the creator, right? Because it makes it not fun for the creator because the creator has to follow all these stupid rules that honestly, like I'm gonna be real, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to make a 10-minute video because they can't make a 2-minute video.
dude,
Nobody wants to do that.
Literally yesterday I had a 4-hour meeting with a new person that I'm doing YouTube consulting for. And at the end of it, he was like, there's so many fucking rules to do this right. Can I just like not do that? And I was like, that's what we do. You can just forget about it and work primarily off of your Patreon, but you have to get an audience to do that.
Mm. And even still, it's like we still follow.
We still have to follow a good majority of them.
I mean, yeah, I would say probably like more than less. Like
100%. We just don't do like we're not like the Naruto channel, you know, or the like. We don't do the same thing every single fucking video, right? To gain that audience.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, but I'm even talking about little things like making sure that tags are in every single video. Like when was like I think I've clicked on a tag like once. You know, like you have to make sure that your ads are spaced out in the exact right way so that they play. You know, you have to like do a ton of stupid shit like our outros. You know, I would love to sit and talk to people for 5 minutes in our outros, but people don't watch it. The majority of people won't watch that, so we have to cut them. You know, that's why our outros are like, that's why our outros are like, lucky Patreon, blah, 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 yada, yada. See you next time. Boom. Yep. You know, if I could just be like, thanks, bye. You know, that would be it, you know? But anyway, it's just like, there's millions and millions of stupid little rules. Like the idea that you have to fill up your tag section more or less, or like, you know, you want to fill up your tag section. So like come up with
you want to fill up your tag section, but you can't fill it up too much. It has to be the right amount of tags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would like to do longer outros with real talk. But yeah, burnout is I think that it's something that primarily is a phenomenon that exists in capitalist societies. And I think that it is
wait, sorry, do you hear that?
No.
It's the sound of an angry... Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, burnout is fueled by greed. That's the way that it goes, right? So, like, for instance, back in England, way long time ago, there was a plague. Everybody knows it. The Black Death, right? And when that swept through, it took out an entire generation of workers, right? I mean, like the Black Plague is like the closest thing that you can think of to atomic annihilation, right? Like it was bad. And this was still when England was an aristocracy, right? So there's a king and a queen and like they actually mattered and like all this shit, right? So the peasants were workers, right? And when this Black Plague came through, all the workers died. So they had to get kids and young people into these jobs. I mean, like these were businesses and even you know like social leaders that were now like 20, and down to like 9, like that had to work and work and work and stuff like that. And then because there was so limited amount, that was when workers started being able to bargain, because it was, that was when the ruling class realized, oh, like we need these fucking people or else everything is going to fall apart, you know? And in the Industrial Revolution, it was kind of the same thing, like in America too. There was a lot of issues with children working. Lots of like people who were too old to work were working. And people were getting paid with. You had an option. You could either get a keg or you could get a paycheck, and a lot of people took the keg because they worked all the fucking time. And the only way to fucking deal with it was to just be drunk. And like back in the day, they were drunk. Like people working heavy machinery in buildings without fire escapes were just fucking drunk all the time. And there were kids in there, people were losing hands and like all this shit. And that was, it was just that was the way it was. You just worked and worked and worked and worked. And it really was like the Industrial Revolution that kind of like set this standard, right? Because anything's better than that.
Well, literally, our school system is based off of the Industrial Revolution too.
See, I don't know about that, so enlighten me.
There's a really good video about it. I can't remember exactly who did it. It's like a TED Talk. But like the idea that like a bell controls your life, and there's like a ring for lunch and a ring for after, and you separate people, by age and stuff like that. All that came from the Industrial Revolution. And we basically packaged it up and said, well, this is how we'll do schooling now too. Which is ridiculous because education does not work that way. Yeah. A lot of people think, I had a really, really good teacher who did another TED Talk about how a lot of people see education like a ladder, where it's like, for math, for example, it's like you learn, arithmetic, and then you learn geometry, and then you learn calculus, etc. And it's like you're climbing up this ladder of knowledge, and it's much, much more like a leaf's veins. Where it's like, yeah, they're all related, but they're all very different. Like, I was pretty good at science in school. Like, I was really good at chemistry. I was great at biology. I cannot do physics to save my fucking life.
Yeah, because it's math.
Yeah, well, because it's math, science. but it's math in a way that does not make fucking sense to me. I cannot give you the fucking like tension of a spring for my life, and I tried.
Yeah, or like the trajectory of like a object that weighs this much, with a gravitational force of this much, thrown with an acceleration of this much, and then a deaccelerate. Like, what's the deacceleration of it? Where will it hit? Yeah, like that shit is really.
And other people are like, "How do you not get this? You know the formulas." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't understand the basic, like the fundamental concept. Still hurts my brain to this day. It doesn't fucking work."
Yeah. So basically, like after the Industrial Revolution, again, the idea kind of comes down to like anything is better than that. Anything is better than no laws or restrictions, right? So, eventually we get whittled down to the 40-hour work week, right? Which was originally meant for the man in the family to work 40 hours a week, and that was enough to pay for their family, right? Which, could have been anywhere from a wife and a kid to a wife and 7 kids. My grandfather was a chemistry professor, and he fed 6 fucking kids and his wife all by himself, and had a house and a car and all sorts of stuff.
Like thinking about that now, it sounds insane. Like people are like, was he also Batman? Like,
nope. He had a PhD. So, he was definitely, up there, but he worked at a state school. He worked at UMass, and they are retired now off of his work, and they live half of the year in a really nice place in Arizona and half of the year in a gorgeous place in New Hampshire. That's the way that things were built to be. And then we had women's suffrage, which is something that absolutely should have happened. But the government, instead of it being okay, they punished everybody for it, right? And a lot of these stupid misogynist pricks will go around and be like, "Oh, it's the women's fault for wanting to work and not be in the kitchen with the babies." And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's a human right to be able to work and make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government fucking allowed corporations to cut people's wages to the point where now it's expected that a woman and a man will both work, right? And that nobody will take care of their fucking kids. Do you know how much it would cost me for daycare? Like me and Devin have gone off and on about having a kid.
I know almost exactly how much it would cost. Like I have a friend who lives in the Bay Area. I think she's in Oakland now. She had her first kid. I think her kid's like a year and a half old. She had her
Rough
kid.
Neighborhood.
She had her kid during COVID.
Yeah.
And this is not like they make like she works at LinkedIn. She makes money. You know what I mean? Like she's making 6 figures plus, and her husband.
She do it in Oakland. She's just somewhere better.
Because she's in the Bay Area, she gets paid more than if she worked anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
She gets paid, like, they actually will lower your... If she moved to, let's say, Seattle, she'll get 90% of what she gets paid right now.
Jesus. Yeah, the Bay Area is the most expensive place in the country, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But her husband works for the rental company where they live, so they get 40% off their rent. Which is huge. You know, he doesn't get paid very much, but it takes care of it because the rent would be like $2,000 more. You
Oakland? Know? Jesus Christ.
It's ridiculous. I don't remember exactly where she lives. The point is, it's fucking expensive still.
Oakland's rough, dude. Oakland is like a rough neighborhood.
And when I saw her recently for a bachelorette party, she was telling me that, like, they still barely have the money for everything they need. Yep. And they're making over 6 figures because daycare itself is costing thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah, for me, my rent is $850, right?
Yeah,
I live in the
$960.
Yeah, like I live in the sticks, so like $850 it's what it should be. You know what I mean? I think when I look at my apartment, I'm like, yeah, this $850 seems like a pretty fair deal. It's something that you can pay. Big. Yeah, it's pretty damn big, especially if you took most of our shit out of it. Our house is really fucking cluttered.
Your house is pretty fucking big. You have an upstairs.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms. Pretty nice place.
Yeah. And I believe that it should cost about $850 in today's economy. That leaves us a little bit of room to save, et cetera, et cetera. You should have room to save. And like daycare for me, for one kid would be $1,750 a month. It's like fucking over twice my rent. Just for daycare. I mean, which granted, like, we wouldn't need because, Devin isn't working right now. She wants to work. She's working on getting work. But she has, like, disabilities and stuff, so it's difficult. Like, it's not like she can't just go work at Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
Which is now paying $15 an hour. Sounds awesome.
Good job, Dunkin'.
Yeah, a lot of things around here are paying $15, which is neat. And you get, like, all these sign-on bonuses because they're so desperate to get people to work. Regardless, so when women entered the workforce, like women were punished for it. They still don't get paid as much as men do for doing the same job, and families got punished for it because now it's expected that 2 people work and the kids basically get fucked. I mean, it brought up a whole generation of latchkey kids that brought up a whole generation of latchkey kids. I mean, the idea of a family bond is basically not there for the majority of people, especially the lower to lower middle class of people. I was a latchkey kid. My mom and dad didn't get home till 7 p.m. So after school, I went home, unlocked my door, grabbed my skateboard and rode my bike to the skate park, and that's where I hung out. Kid says she was a latchkey kid. I'm sure a lot of people in here were,
Yeah.
Partway through, American.
I was just going to say, partway through my childhood, my dad moved his office to work at home.
Yeah.
which was great when I was younger. Then it sucked when I was older.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was like, I don't get me wrong, like I didn't get along with my parents very well anyway, so being a latchkey kid was great. Um and like, you know, despite my many stars, I really wasn't like a big troublemaker, you know? I was a mischief maker, but I wasn't like any of the like the psychopath kids, you know, that like you hear about and stuff like that. But in America, like it wasn't until the 90s that we got an act that like really allowed people to spend any time with their kids legally after giving birth. And even still, it's unpaid.
and
And
it's
it's only,
stupid small compared to other countries.
yeah, it's something like 4 weeks to
Mhm.
4 months, something like that. Like it's really, really small, and it's basically only for women.
Yep.
Which, great. So, you know, and that leads into other things like, oh, like we don't want to hire women of birthing age because they're, you know, they think of women as like part-time employees because women can get pregnant, which is like they're fucking right. And they should be allowed to get fucking pregnant, you know, and then they should be allowed to have kids, you
Mhm.
know, like, I mean, sure, some people shouldn't be allowed to have kids, but this is America. You're free. You can do whatever you want, you know, like have a fucking kid or 8. Please don't have 8 kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
Nobody
not
needs
8.
8 kids. Nobody needs 8 kids. But anyway, yeah, like, you know, unless you have the biggest farm, you know, in the world, sure, have 8 kids. They're going to work on your farm, you know. They're probably going to have a decent life.
But almost everywhere else, it is like way more. Afghanistan has a 90-day maternity leave.
Is it paid?
Good question. Does it say
Because places
percentage
like
of
France,
wages? It does say. Hold on. Where was that? I want to say it was 100%, but
wow. Because places like France, they have like 6 months, 8 months for
Mhm.
men and women paid,
yes,
you know,
100% wages.
for how long?
90 days.
90 days. That's 3 months.
3 months.
They're still better than us.
Yeah.
You
Australia
know,
gives you a year, but you don't get paid at all.
okay. That's still job protection, though. You know what I mean?
Fiji has 84 days, which seems strange, and they give you, I guess, a flat rate.
Okay.
So it's not
So,
your
like, disability.
kinda. I don't know how much it
Yeah.
is, but yeah, this is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. Kara says he knows a family with 11 kids. My grandmother grew up next to a lady who had 20 kids. Catholics. that's why. That's why. Catholics.
fucking Denmark, man. 18 weeks, you get 100% of your wage times 10 more weeks may be taken by either parent. God damn.
Yeah. It's
So
Kara says
you
this
get
family's
100% for 18 weeks, and then you can still take another 10 weeks off. And either parent can do it.
Yep. So yeah, so basically the idea is that like we are way fucking behind on this stuff in America.
Yeah.
And what it shows when you dig down into all of it, what it shows is the intrinsic greed of a capitalist society. Unchecked. Because when you get pregnant, and when I say you, obviously, you know, literally I mean women, but obviously families. When families
Right.
get pregnant, the women specifically are no longer considered workers. They're considered, you know, their time on the force is ticking, basically. And once they get to the point where they can't work anymore, and then they have to go into labor and have the kid afterwards, it's like, yo, if you don't get back here, you're fucking gone. Sorry, we'll fill your space with somebody else who wants to work. You know, because I mean that's really the attitude, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, you don't want to work? You want to fucking have a bond with your child? Fine, you're fired. Enjoy not making any money. You know, it's like it's fucking disgusting. It's disgusting. There's absolutely no excuse. And we were supposed to get that fixed. Thanks to Joe Manchin and Christian Cinema. It's not happening. Neither is free community college. Which pisses me off because I have a fucking loan that I have to pay now. So
Anyway.
yeah. So
remember when we were talking about burnout? It's all connected.
We are. We're still, yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected. So what happens? Well, let me not get ahead of myself. So now we're in a space where inflation has gotten so bad that even if you're working with 2 full-time jobs in a family, you almost can't even afford to have a kid.
Yeah.
One kid.
Like, you basically now, if you keep money in the bank, you are losing money. Because inflation, because your yearly inflation is so high, if you just let your money sit there, you are not gaining enough interest to combat inflation.
Oh, like in a savings account. Yeah.
Yep. Like, the only reason I am making money on my savings is because I have it invested.
Right. Which is a gamble.
Which is a huge, and I'm not investing in stocks. I have crypto investments, which have paid off really well, and I'm really happy about it. But yeah, I put in money and I hold on to money in my savings account with a fucking death grip on it in case I lose everything else.
Yeah. So we're now in a time where inflation has gotten so bad that, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like in the middle of the country and in the South, cost of living is a lot lower than it is where I live and where Tyler lives. But even still, they aren't even close to up to date. You know? I mean, we had this whole podcast where we were freaking out about prices over houses and lands and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, and how cheap it was and shit like that in Wyoming and stuff. That's why millennials are going to buy Wyoming. We're doing it. We're going to build the asshole cannon. Everything's going to be great. But again, it's like, you know, you can't just move to those areas in Wyoming. There's nothing around there. There's no, you know, like, there's no internet. There's no fucking roads. like, yeah, you can buy a fuck ton of land, but then you're going to have to put all the money into, like, there's no infrastructure. Exactly, Kit. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it's we are behind,
super behind,
and what it's causing is more people having to work more for less. And I think what we're seeing right now, especially after I mean, after the original pandemic nightmare, right? Like, we're still in the middle of it. It has not gone away. There is still a bunch of assholes that are out there not getting fucking vaccinated and are dying and spreading it to other people and killing other people's kids. Like, let's not fucking sugarcoat this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you are not getting vaccinated by choice for fun, you could be a fucking child murderer, and you should go to fucking jail for being a child murderer, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? You get COVID and you give it to a fucking kid. Fuck.
The only reason not to get a vaccine now is if you literally can't.
And there are people that can't, and that's totally fair. But those people are depending on the people who can to get it, so they can go and live their lives. But they can't because of all these fucking people that are like, scared of losing their freedom, man. And like, this isn't just a Southern thing, though it is really prevalent in the South. But right now, New York City, right? New York City, the emerald gem of the East Coast, is fucked on their emergency services because so many of these dicks refuse to get their fucking COVID vaccine. Excuse me? What? Your emergency services, motherfuckers. Like, you're fine running into a burning building that's collapsing. You know, you'll be heroes on 9/11. But you won't get a COVID shot? For reference, this week I got a flu shot. And then once that was over, I got my COVID booster. Right? So, I'll tell you what, flu shot is a lot worse than a COVID booster or a COVID shot, period. I've had now 3 shots. And I can tell you, the flu shot fucking sucks.
Well, 3 COVID shots.
Yeah, 3 COVID shots.
3 COVID shots, 1 flu shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and the flu shot was worse than all 3 COVID shots put together. You know, like it's fucking ridiculous. And I guarantee you that most of these people have had the flu shot. Most of them have probably had the polio shot. You know, smallpox, tetanus, all sorts of stuff. Like I guarantee you can't go to fucking college without getting a tetanus shot.
Mm-hmm.
What
I mean, you
is
can't
different?
go to public school without getting shots.
Yeah. Like what I mean, what is different about the COVID boost or the COVID shot and the fucking tetanus shot? I don't know.
It's politicized. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's politicized. So, but besides that was sorry about my tangent.
That was a tangent, yeah. But you seem to really be going for it, so
yeah, it pisses me off, dude.
Yeah,
pisses
me
off.
off too. I'm happy. Oregon has over an 80% vaccination rate.
Yeah, it's because 80% of its fucking population lives in 2 cities. Whoa, and everybody who isn't vaccinated lives outside of it.
3 cities.
Okay, there you go.
All right. We got Portland, Eugene, and Bend.
I forgot about Eugene. What about Salem?
It's not that big.
Oh, it's a capital.
That doesn't mean it's big. Albany's the capital of New York.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Boston isn't even big. But yeah, so what the first COVID panic showed the world was what it's like not to have to fucking work all the time. Or not to have to travel a ridiculous fucking distance to your job because you can't afford to live near your job. And people liked it. Not everybody liked it, right? And that's fair. That's
my
totally
commute
fair.
Really changed.
Well, I mean, sure, but like, you know, and I'm not coming from like you have to please remember that like I am not like a fucking out of high school YouTuber, right? I spent the vast majority of my life working real jobs, shit jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we both did. Like, I was still working as a bartender up until, 2 years ago? I think? Something like that.
I have been a line cook. I have been a prep cook. I have been a clerk. I have been a fast food worker. I have been a waiter. I have been a warehouse worker. I've done fucking landscaping, yard work, every kind of manual labor that you could probably, roofing, all kinds of shit like that.
We've both done fucking call center shit, which is soul-sucking as hell. I've also done door-to-door shit, which is soul-sucking as hell.
Yeah. Charles says he's not going to be able to hear the rest of it because he has to go to work. You know what I mean? Yeah, work is fucking, you know, it's like also, you know, it just people for the record, like people just they got a taste. They got a taste of what it's like to not have to fucking kill yourself to, you know, be able to be with your family. And I'm sure that there was issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely issues, but at the same time, it's still better than fucking killing yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Sure, everybody wants a break from their kids, but I would rather be annoyed with my kids than killing myself to go to work for no gain. That's the other thing. Like I've worked paycheck to paycheck. My whole fucking life was paycheck to paycheck until like this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck. And even on YouTube, like it takes a long time. It took me 5 years of working my fucking dick off to get to this point where I'm okay. You know, like what I mean? It's not an emergency. Like, yeah.
Oh,
Like,
it's so fucking true.
Yeah. And so the reason that I bring this up is because burnout is real. And while it isn't a medical condition, it causes medical conditions. And America has a cultural zeitgeist about working. America has always had an image to uphold to the rest of the world that we are strong and we are proud and we are tough.
We're American. We're the strong, hardy freedom fighters of the world that, we bring others up out of the darkness.
Yeah.
And make the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't always like that. That's like post World War II. But yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Last 100 years, though, like.
Yeah. And that's a great sales pitch. I got another one for you. We are the descendants of the craziest motherfuckers that ever lived on this planet, who were ballsy enough and religiously fucking zealous enough to take a journey across the ocean on a wooden boat that they didn't even know if they were going to make it into a land filled with people who they didn't fucking share a language with or any cultural identity with, to fucking possibly die, and then proceeded to commit genocide and take all the land.
I just want to be clear.
That's who we are.
Your ancestors did that. Mine were in Russia doing other things.
Yours were in Russia too. Who fucking knows? Russian history
mine were in,
is not.
Mine were in Russia and Israel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fucking Israel didn't even exist until after World War II.
That's true.
Love to see Hitler's reaction to that. Well, part of Hitler's whole problem was that with Jews, was that Jews weren't able to have their own country. So they used everybody else's country. They weren't built to have their own country. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so
done a pretty good job at maintaining one since then. The people in charge of it haven't exactly done great things to do that, but it's still there.
Yeah. But yeah, so it is part of the zeitgeist to work and work and work and just shut the fuck up, because that's how it is, right? At least it's not as bad as it used to be.
I cannot tell you how many times in my 20s I would tell, even like my parents, but basically anyone, I was like, I'm sometimes working 70, 80-hour weeks, between my job and YouTube channel and all that stuff. And they're like, well, yeah, you're in your 20s. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're fucking not.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you want to know why?
I have 100% lost years on my life building up a YouTube channel. 100%.
Totally.
The starts of Treesicle, I guarantee I've lost at least 5 years on my life from the stress.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you want to know why you're not Madonna or Britney Spears or fucking, Markiplier or whatever? It's because you're not putting in 90 hours a week to fucking, make your Madonna dreams come true. You know what like Britney
because it's
Spears,
not fucking worth it, dude.
No, it's not. It's not. Britney Spears worked night and day and still fucking does. Like people who live that life, that's why they go crazy. That's why they end up fucking, like in the tabloids with their fucking cooter hanging out, like drunk as fuck, fighting with the police, is because they've worked 90 hours a week for 3 fucking years. And they're not even most of them aren't even in control of themselves. They got multiple contracts to uphold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, some of them are fucking assholes. But then on top of it,
they're assholes at every aspect of life. You can find lazy assholes. You can find assholes that work themselves to death. Assholes are a constant.
Yeah, exactly. And if you give assholes an inflated head and a shit ton of money, like, they're gonna be bigger assholes. That's just the way it is. That's how you. Anyway, so the reason that I bring all of this up is because we work in a space that is highly glorifying of Japan, and Japan has a very similar national zeitgeist that we do, with a few tweaks, right? Mm-hmm. So in America, it's all about getting what you want, right? It's all about take what you can.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps that nobody has anymore.
Exactly. And anybody can make it from the ground up, blah, blah, blah. Japan is more like support the country, support the business.
If you aren't working, you aren't being a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Functional member of society.
Something like that.
You are not adding
a contributing member of society. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, and it's not even if you're not working. It's if you are not in the workforce.
Right.
If you are not in the the corporate cubicle job, you are not a contributing member of society.
Well, it's like how many fucking anime have we watched that like the main character starts out as like what is it, hikikomori? Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And they're like ashamed because they're not working, you know?
Yeah. Or somebody who works so much they die.
Or the opposite. Yes.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, like in Bookworm, or what's that other one that just
Death March to a Rhapsody or something like that. There's a bunch of them, dude. There's a ton of them because working yourself to death is an actual problem in Japan. But it's also a problem in the United States. And that's something that doesn't get talked about. And everybody always covers it up with, well, it's not as bad as it used to be. Right? I mean, how many times have you fucking heard that line?
If people are still dying, then it's just as bad as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but think about how many times somebody has applied that line to anything that you have a complaint about. Racism. Well, it's not as bad as it used to be. You know, like all this fucking shit. Like it's not as bad as it used to be. Okay, well, what's your gauge on that? Like what like how do you know it's not as bad as it used to be? Like, sure, yeah. The work environment now is not as bad as it used to be. In some ways.
Yeah,
we got fire escapes.
That doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, like we have some protections. We have legal limits.
We have unions sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, but also not because, like, I've worked at a place where if you said the word union and anybody that's in a position higher than you hears you, you're fired. And like, this is a place.
What if you spell it
literally?
Like a
seriously,
dog.
like no, it was like fucking the 1950s like Red Scare, dude. Like and other people would report you too, because if anybody connected to you had that conversation with you, they would also get fired. This is a business that fired entire warehouses full of people. 500, 800 workers for trying to unionize. Got rid of all of them, cleaned house. Crazy, right? But anyway, the reason that I bring this up is because imagine all of these issues, and then on top of it, being a single mom. You're already fucked, right? You got a kid, 2 kids. You have one income. That income is already lower than it should be because you're a woman. And you got kids that you got to take care of. Imagine being a single fucking mom, right? That sucks. Now, imagine being a single mom who really, really, really loves their fucking kids. I mean, almost to a fanaticism point, right? Wants to give these kids the best life that they can for, whatever reason. We'll stick with love, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think most moms want to give their kids a good life, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference between a good life and the best possible life that they can have. You know what I mean? And look at all of the barriers that are in your fucking way. And the reason I bring this up is because I know somebody like that. And this person right now is in the hospital fighting for her life because of burnout. My Aunt Shannon got married and had kids when she was 20. My cousin Maya was first. She's 24 now, so she's about 6 years younger than me. And then my cousin Marissa. Shannon was 16 when I was born, so she's only 46. And she had a heart attack last week. And the blood clot that caused the heart attack went through her heart, not like a bullet, but like, passed through, and got lodged in her lower leg and cut off circulation to her leg. So it didn't get lodged in the lower leg, it got lodged in the upper leg in the aortic artery. Which is that artery
to get lodged.
Yeah. That's the artery that everybody's like, well, that's why we don't shoot people in the leg. They'll bleed out. That's why we shoot people in the heart, or the spine.
That's why we got to shoot them other places.
Yeah. So it's a big artery. It's an important artery. So she had the heart attack and didn't even know. She thought she had heartburn. I mean, that's my aunt. Our whole family has heartburn, acid reflux, stuff like that. So she thought she had heartburn, right? Yep. Then her foot turned purple.
That's bad.
So she went to the doctor. Right? We have a hospital near us. Place fucking sucks. And when she went to the hospital, they took her in right away. Hospitals are fucked up the ass right now. Absolutely. Because of all the fucking COVID patients.
Yep, still.
And because of COVID in general.
It went down for like a smidge, and now it's back up.
Yeah. So she's in the waiting room with a fuck ton of people with COVID, with a blood clot in her leg, and no pulse in her foot. And her foot is dying, right? Well, there's no fucking vascular specialist at this hospital.
Seems like something that you would need at a hospital.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, well, we'll have to transfer you to Bay State in Springfield. Bay State's full. So they had to send her to Connecticut because it's closer than Boston, right? I wish so badly that she could have gone to Boston. Boston is the best hospitals in the world. Period. It is one of the best and brightest medical areas in the entire world. The best doctors go to school in Boston. But she ended up having to go to Connecticut. She gets to Connecticut and they put her on blood thinners, right? Because that's what you do to break up a clot, right? Mm-hmm. A clot, like, for those who just don't know or never watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy in their life or something like that, blood clots are tricky because
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, but you keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. Blood clots are tricky because if they break, you just get another heart attack. It'll get stuck in your heart. What if it goes to your brain? Cuts off circulation to your brain, you have a stroke. There's a lot of things that make blood clots very dangerous. And the other thing about having a blood clot is that it's likely that you have more, and they're very hard to find. Most of the time, what you do is you get a CAT scan. And what the CAT scan does is they put a bunch of liquid inside of you that makes you feel like you're going to piss yourself, and then it basically, it makes things glow when they look at you through this x-ray. And the reason that I know that is because my fiance, they thought she might have a blood clot or a tumor at one point. Turns out she had degenerative kidney disease. Not great. It's not a blood clot, so that's nice. So Shannon goes on these blood thinners, and there's a risk with these blood thinners, right? Because they're intense. She gets this catheter put in, right? Not a piss catheter. She does have a piss catheter, but also a catheter for the clot. The idea is to, pass the clot through this, break it up, pass it out. It goes on these blood thinners, but the risk is that these blood thinners can cause you to bleed in other places. So, for instance, if you bump your elbow while you're on these blood thinners, you could get a serious bleed in your elbow. Well, the same works for your head. And sometimes you don't even need to bump it. And when they were going to take the catheter out to check on the clot, Shannon had a stroke. Because she had a bleed in her brain, in the right side of her brain. And it cut off oxygen to the brain. So bleeds in the brain are really bad. They're really bad. Any bleeding in the brain causes swelling. And when your brain swells, it pushes up against the walls of your skull and causes pretty significant brain damage. And also more things like strokes. Thanks for hanging out, Alpha. I appreciate you, man. And there's only one way to fix it. Gotta cut a hole in the person's fucking skull. Right? So sometimes they need to take a whole plate off, right? Like a big chunk of your skull. For Shan, all they needed to do was basically drill a little hole in it, which is nice.
Essentially
right?
like a drain, right?
Yeah. So, you know, she didn't have to get her head shaved and like this big fucking gnarly scar. But then she had another stroke. And this one was in... So the first one was on the right side of her brain. Paralyzed the left side of her body. That's how it works. Opposites.
Yep.
And the second stroke was in her... Well, actually, I don't know. There's a lot of parts of your brain that control cognitive functions, like basal ganglia, prefrontal cortex, just a bunch of other ones. And she had one that hit her somewhere in the cognitive area, and then she had another one. It began to seize up. She was put on a ventilator, and our family doesn't do ventilators, right? We're very DNR heavy. We don't like the idea of becoming vegetables. You know, we don't like the idea of not being who we used to be. We'd rather die. And that's just something that's always been part of the family. I was raised like that. That's just the way it is. It's a very small family. We're very, very close, super tight-knit. My great-grandmother was that way. When she was dying, my grandmother was supposed to be in charge of it, but her brothers and sisters basically usurped it and kept my great-grandmother alive. And my grandmother threw a fit. And it was very traumatizing for her because she knew what her mother wanted. And my grandmother wants the same thing. And Shannon would want the same thing too. She said it, right? So we got to the point where we had to, we kind of had to figure out what to do, and the doctor said, give us 2 days. I really like Shannon, is what he said. He's like, I feel like she's my friend. I got to know her really well because that's just who Shannon is. She's extremely outgoing, super funny. She's super fucking funny. Just like out of control, just a wild lady. All the ladies in my family are wild. And he said, give me 2 days. I'm going to try and pull her out of this. If she's worse in 2 days, have your discussion. So right now, Shannon is not awake, but she is off the ventilator. She's heavily medicated. The clot obviously had to go on the back burner, while all this brain stuff was happening. And so they're kind of working on that now. They want her to heal. She is off the ventilator, right? And people are going down and visiting her every day, because that's what Shannon would want. She likes socializing. That's like her favorite thing. And she's now responding to people, which is great. It's better than we could have ever hoped for. Yesterday, my grandmother was in the ICU. She's in the neurological ICU yet. They haven't even transferred her back into cardiovascular. But my grandmother was in there, and the nurse was talking to her, and she asked my grandmother what my cousins were doing my cousin was doing for college. My grandmother couldn't figure it out. And then out of the corner of the room, you hear forensics. So she's got 3-syllable words. You know what I mean? Like she's out of it. She's fucked up on drugs. Yeah, exactly. You know, like, I had a conversation with her, and you have to realize that it's not Shan yet, right? You know, she's fucking out of it. Her eyes are all rolling around and stuff. You know, like it's uncomfortable to see, but you know, it's better than dead. And I guess she had asked for me while her daughter was there, and you know, her daughter Marissa gave me a call, and we had a little FaceTime with Shannon. She focused on me one time. She told me she loved me. She's like, "I love you so much." Like, I love you too, you know. But she is in this situation because she worked herself to death. And it's a reality. It's a harsh reality. She wanted to be the best mom that she possibly could in a world that didn't want to allow her to be the best mom that she could be. She was a coach for cheerleading and dance and all this. Like, I mean, these girls did activities. Like, it was, you know, drama, fucking, like, all sorts of shit. She ran a scrapbook club. She would do, like, fucking sex toy parties. You know, she, like, worked with my Grammy selling candles. Like, she was, from the second she got up until 10 o'clock at night, every single night for the past 20 years. And I'm not even exaggerating. It might be longer than that. We're talking like 23, 24 years. I mean, pretty much since Maya was born, she has been up and out every single day, all fucking day, making it work. Like this is like super mom, but on top of that, like not being a crazy mom. She was a fun mom. She's the girl's best friend in the entire world. You know, she makes fucking sex jokes. She talks about her boyfriend's big black cock. You know, she like fucking like all sorts of like she just goes ham. And at first we were like, Shan, you gotta fucking chill out. Like you would see her calendar, and every single day on every single month it would be full. 5 to 6 to 7 things on her calendar, from, you know, doctor's appointments, visits with the school, you know, yada yada. She eventually got into politics. She, like, you know, her kids are half black, and during the Trump administration, there was a lot of like really scary neo-Nazi racist stuff going on in their town, and she stepped in politically within the school system and within the town and helped clear it up. And let me, like, she is a 5 foot tall, kinky curly haired, like freckles all over her body, you know, little white lady. I mean, you know, she could probably stand to lose a little bit of weight, but she knows that.
Well, me too.
And she probably will from this whole thing. But when you're living like that, when you're working like that, you're gonna something has to give. You know what I mean? And when it came to what had to give in order to continue this lifestyle, it was her health. And she ate fast food all the time. Because what are you going to do? Cook? You got 15 fucking appointments today. Can't cook. Right. You know? She lived off of coffee 24/7. And to deal with the anxiety probably that the coffee gave her, she smoked like a chimney. So she had high cholesterol. And it gave her a heart attack. And then, because she had a heart attack, she had 3 strokes. And now at 46, her daughters are worried about her dying. We're all worried about her dying. Because the thing is strokes are kind of like not good. You know, it's one of those things that can it's a forever problem now. Because once you have a stroke, it opens you up for more strokes.
Yeah, you're that much more likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like if you have cancer, you're more likely to get cancer.
Yeah, it's like brain herpes. You know what I mean? You just hope you don't have another outbreak.
That is
it's
the
not
best
good.
description for a stroke I have ever heard.
Yeah. But yeah, so my Shannon has always been really, really good to me. She's always been kind of like a mom and a sister, and I think that's kind of how her girls felt about it too. And her girls are great kids. They've literally never done anything bad in their entire life, which is really saying something. Obviously, Shannon and her husband divorced. She never remarried, and that happened when the kids were pretty young, and it was devastating to them. Really devastating because they're like, I thought Shannon had a perfect relationship. It was devastating to me. I loved my uncle and my aunt. It was very difficult, for me. For her kids, it was a lot worse, and I think she really tried to make up for that. But again, like, in this fucking country and with the way that the world works, she had something had to go. Something had to give. And that fucking sucks. That's fucked up. And she is not alone. This happens to a lot of people. She was working 2-3 jobs to put her kids into college because she was just making too much money for them to get financial aid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You get punished for trying too hard.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I guess you're over the whatever the fucking amount is for financial aid, so you don't need it, despite all the other reasons that you could need it.
Yeah. Now, where's the person whispering in my ear, it's not as bad as it used to be? Where's that person? How is it not as bad as it used to be? It sounds kind of worse, right? You work 3 jobs. You got to die of a heart attack and strokes when you're 46. It's not as bad as it used to be. Like, yeah, exactly. Cock Warlock says it's not as bad as it used to be. Neither means good nor acceptable. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
in fact, it
exactly.
often means it's still shitty. It's just not super, super shitty.
Yeah. What I think it is that there is a level. Like, I don't think shitty is a scale. I think it is a line. Right?
No, I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Once you hit shitty, it's all shit.
It's all shit until you get past the line of shit. And then you're no longer in shit.
Once you get some shit on your face, I don't think it matters if you get a lot of shit on your face. You already have shit on your face. Your day's ruined. Right? Like, it's just so fucking stupid. And it's not as bad as it used to be. Doesn't fucking mean anything. People need to stop saying that shit. So on social media and on our YouTube community page, I've posted in GoFundMe for my aunt. That is being run by somebody that I call my auntie Jenny, my auntie Missy, but they're not aunts. They're Shannon's friends who have been friends with her since the day they were born. Because back in the day, we had neighborhoods. and people would have birth at the same time or give birth at the same time. And, it was this American utopia. It's not as bad as it used to be though. Right. So, and the reason that we're doing that is because you don't think about the financial issues that come with something like this. Right. But again, this is America. This is America, everybody. Dying ain't free.
Oh, no.
Living,
hell no,
surviving, dude. Not free. That one ambulance ride from Massachusetts to Connecticut probably cost more than your year's worth of rent.
Probably.
I took an ambulance ride 1 mile one time. It cost me $8,000. Did I pay it? No. Will I pay it? No.
Yeah,
but still got the bill.
Luthi says U.S. medical bills are fucking stupid. They are fucking stupid. And we are in an age now where our fucking health insurance is GoFundMe because it's the only way people can do it.
Yeah.
We are literally, because the government won't make universal healthcare where we all pay into it, we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. I have to ask my audience to help my auntie. And I already ask my audience too fucking much.
Yeah, we already asked for a lot. We've asked for things before, like we asked for help with my ex's eyes too. You
Yeah.
know?
But anyway, you know, it's like, yeah, and the thing, like, I didn't post it in the Patreon because our patrons do enough.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope I never have to ask again. I don't like having to do that. You know what I mean? It's. I'm here to entertain you guys, not bum you out.
Yeah.
But also, I think that everybody needs to feel a little bit justified. You know, you probably don't like your job. If you do, that's awesome. You're probably not getting paid enough. Period. I'm not even gonna tell you that you're getting paid enough. You're probably not getting paid enough. You know?
Yeah.
That's the world is shit and it's fucking you. And we should not be satisfied until things change. Until people don't have to go through what Shannon's going through. And her girls. And the fact that we have to set up a GoFundMe for this when she has insurance is ridiculous. And you know what? We don't even know how long she's going to have insurance. If her insurance goes through her job and she can't work her job anymore, she's going to get fired. And then her insurance goes away. Then what? Then what about all the medications and the brain surgery and the fucking leg surgery, everything? Just the bed at the hospital. Never, like, just getting through the first stages. Not even physical therapy. She has to get her left side back. Her whole left side. We don't even know about speech therapy yet or anything like that. This is going to be months of recovery if she makes it. We're going day by day. Like I said, it's a small family. My grandparents, 2 kids, 4 grandkids. And Shannon's single. So 3 adults in the middle. You know, my dad, my mom, and Shannon. Small, tiny family. Very, very, very close. This has affected all of us. I mean, Devin it grew up with a real shit family. And my family is the first family she's ever really felt like she had. And she's devastated. She has her own medical issues. She spent most of last week on the bathroom floor because she was so sick to her stomach worrying about my aunt. And that doesn't even come into consideration when it comes to the fucking bills, because it's not just the medical bills, guys. It's the mortgage and the credit cards. She just bought a new car because she had to, because she fucking drives. She works in Connecticut. She has 3 jobs, 2 here in Massachusetts, and then 1 in Connecticut. So she's commuting to Connecticut every fucking day. You know, she's killed like fucking 5 cars doing that. And then, you know, the food. They have 4 cats. There's too many cats, but they have 4 cats. You know, like the transportation to go see her. It's an hour and a half drive to go see her. You know, like there is bills upon bills upon bills that a normal person has. Disability is not going to pay for that.
I mean, disability doesn't pay for fucking anything.
Yeah, and her daughters, who are 21 and 24, and my fucking grandmother and grandfather, who are in their 70s and not exactly healthy, mind you, have to deal with that. My grandmother's freaking out right now because she still pays her bills with checks and doesn't understand Shannon's account. She's like, what do you mean electronic? You know, like I can't tell what's being paid automatically, you know? And I was like, Graham, like you got to get her phone too, because, you know, like depending on her credit cards, there might be apps and she might have different passwords for all these apps.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so many things. It's just like, you don't think about that when somebody's sick or hurt, you think about that person, but there's so many things behind the scenes that we have to worry about. So that's what the GoFundMe is for. It's really for my cousins. One of which is a $20 patron. So she's helping support us.
Yeah, Maya's been
still
a supporter of us for years now.
Yeah. Yeah. My cousins are cool, dude.
Yeah, I awesome literally remember when she joined, and I was like, oh, she's at the bottom. It'll be interesting to see, like, when she eventually rises. She's, like, almost at the top now of our patrons for how long she's been here.
Yeah, like, these are good people. And, I will link the GoFundMe in the show notes. Don't feel obligated to help, but if you could share it, that would really help. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have $1 to your name, dude, like, that's fine. If you have people like in your family that need help, like, I totally understand. I'm not here begging for your money.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you an American tale.
Yeah, and I think it was important to have some space to talk about it because you haven't had time to.
No, I haven't. I mean, this is the first time.
Mike and I we basically haven't been able to talk for the last week. Like, all of our podcasts got postponed. Like, this is the first time we've sat down and talked for more than, like, 5 minutes online.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to give you one more example of the kind of person that Shannon is, when I first became homeless, I ended up living in this, like, really rough and tumble house. It wasn't that bad when I got there. And when I say that bad, I mean, yeah, there wasn't running water, and, the only thing to eat was stale cereal and drink beer. But it got worse. They were dealing weed, but then they started dealing other things. And then they got a group together, and then they started, beating down drug dealers and taking their stuff and not paying them. So they started to form a gang, right? And I lived there. So I knew everything that was going on behind the scenes, and then they tried to, get me into this gang, right? They started, like, actual gang rituals, right? And this is just fucking country white boys. But I was so far from I couldn't walk anywhere. I needed help, right? So it's like, it was either join the gang or, we're gonna, like, kick your ass until you fucking leave, basically. I didn't want to join this gang. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I was a kid. I was, like, fucking 17. So, like, I didn't have any idea that, hey, like, maybe these people are going to show up and shoot up the house, So these guys started, like, bullying me bad, like, really bad. And, kicking my ass. And then I got sick. I got really sick. I got super bronchitis. It was fucked. I was losing weight. I was, like, 135 pounds. And I haven't grown since middle school. So, like, I was the same size that I am now, minus, 50 pounds. So the one person that I thought I could talk to was my Aunt Shannon. And she came and she got me and helped me get out of there and took me in and put up with me. Because I was a fucking mess, dude. I was a mess. I had not been in civilization in 8 months. I hadn't left that house in 8 months. I had done nothing but smoke pot and live in that fucking house for 8 months. And she put up with me. There was one time where I overslept and missed the girls coming home from school, and they were locked outside of the house. The kids, like, little kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she fucking forgave me for that. Like, she was a good person. She is a good person. And, I love her a lot. So I'm hoping that she gets better, But anyway, and she has been getting better. And I'm happy. I'm, like, really, really, really happy about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, like, again, I'm not here to bum you out, but this is a real thing. And if you feel yourself hurting because, maybe you feel some kind of, sense of connection to the story. Maybe you're a single mom. Maybe you work too fucking hard. Maybe you live in a place where there's no way to get out. Like, you're not alone, and a lot of people feel that way. I've felt that way. I had to rely on the system in order to get my fucking job that I have now. I was on unemployment for a long time, and that was the only way that I was able to work on YouTube, because it wasn't making any fucking money on YouTube. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
we still don't make any fucking money on YouTube.
Yeah, we on YouTube. On YouTube, we don't make any money. It's all Patreon. And that's the thing is like, like we've lost money on Patreon. And that's because we don't put out as much content as we usually do.
Or as we used to. We're putting out more than we were.
As we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't have the same space to promote the Patreon. So, obviously Patreon's just like everything else. It's just like YouTube. You gain subscribers, you lose subscribers, right?
Yep.
But we're not gaining as much Patreon support as we used to, because we're not able to promote it as much as we used to. And, we need that in order for us to survive, so asking for help from my Aunt Shannon is also like stabbing myself in the foot to a degree. And I'm sure she wouldn't want that, but it's like, it's important. So if you could, at the very least, please share the GoFundMe on anything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever works, any way that you can. It does help. It still helps. Even if one person sees it, it really does help, because we've been able to raise a lot of money for her. I mean, don't get me wrong, like a lot of it is coming from friends and family. Like literally she has so many friends. The whole town she lives in is up in arms over this whole thing. It's craziness. I've never seen one person have so much support, but she earned that support. Like if she was born when I was born, she would definitely be a social media star. She's just that fucking good at networking with people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, complete opposite of me.
Me too. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, like, I have certain talents that I was able to exploit, in order to do what I do. But like when it comes to real life, I'm like a shy fucking shut-in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like for the most part, at least now. I wasn't always, but
Yeah, and I mean, we're also just lucky that we have friends that also have audiences that are willing to help too, even though we don't ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really nice of Arlo to retweet for me, and stuff like that. And I haven't been able to talk to anybody in the but I'm planning on it. I'd also like to do a video. And if you're still like listening to this, thank you. I appreciate that. And congratulations, you are now rewarded with anime talk. Tyler, how was your motherfucking anime week?
Thank you for waiting.